So we're going to start with the definition of a linear equation. So, and by the way, I'm going to make a suggestion here for this, that I hope you follow for the entire duration of this course. Whenever you see a term and I'll typically put them in boldface, and they'll often follow the word definition. That's a giveaway, right? That tells you that what we're about to do is we're about to assign a very precise meaning to a specific term, and those terms are very important. And it's one of the most important things you can do for yourself in this course is to pay very close attention to the meaning of those terms and definitely make a commitment to actually remembering what they mean. And that can take some work and practice. But one of the simplest things you can do to help yourself is to underline them. So that way, when you're studying and you're looking back through your notes, they'll jump out at you off the page, right? And it'll be easier for you to scan the page and see where the terms are defined. So, and in particular, I'll suggest that you underline them in the same color. I like to use red. That's just a habit that I get into, but I would really just recommend that you pick any color you like and just stick to that choice. And then that'll make it easier for you to look back through your notes later. So we're going to start by giving meaning to this term, a linear equation. So a linear equation is, well, it's one of the following form. And first and foremost, it's an equation. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can see. So we've got a whole bunch of letters here, and not all the letters are variables. Some of them represent constants. So, and first of all, I want to draw your attention to the letter N. On the very last term on the left-hand side, you can see there's two subscripts of N that appear. And right away, N just represents the number of terms on the left-hand side, or equivalently, the number of variables. I want to just make a note about that right now. So N is just the number of variables. Because you could have a linear equation in 3 variables, you could have a linear equation in 10 variables or 2 variables or 100 variables, right? There's no restriction on the number of variables you can have. So that's why it's important that we organize things the way we do. So by that I mean the following. So we're using the letters X, pardon me, we're using the letter X to indicate the variables, but since there could be more than one, we have to index them. So X1 is the first variable, X2 is the second variable, and so on. And you can see there's this dot, dot, dot here just indicates that the pattern continues. So the next term in this sum, if we were to write out the next term as well, we would write it as A3X3. And then the next one would be A4X4, and so on. And you keep on going until you get to the very last term, which consists of the constant an multiplied by the variable xn. So the idea here is that the a's are all constant. They could be just regular, ordinary, simple numbers like 3, 2, -5, 7, or so on. Or they could be fractions or decimals. They could be irrational numbers like the square root of 2 or pi, anything like that as well. There's a lot of freedom for what those coefficients can be. By coefficients, I mean the a's. And then the x's, those are the variables. And then we have one last constant over on the right-hand side all by itself. That's not a coefficient because it's not multiplied onto a variable, but it is still a constant that needs to be mentioned. And it has as a special name, it's called the constant term, actually, because it's over by itself. It makes up a whole term all by itself. So it's not a coefficient because it's multiplied onto the variable. Let's add a note for that. This is called the constant term. Okay, so let's finish underlying the terms in this definition. So I gave you kind of an overview there, but the definition actually clarifies down in the bottom line here. So the constants are the A1, A2, all the way up to AN, as well as the B. Those are all constants. And then the variables, those are the unknowns that are indicated with the letter X. Okay, so that's the definition of a linear equation. Let's look at a couple of examples because an example is worth 1,000 words.